Power of Love show sponsored by the D.D. Jackson Foundation, where we shine a light on loss and grief and how it impacts our lives. We are here to provide hope, resources, and a community so no one feels alone in their grief. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Power of Love show sponsored by the D.D. Jackson Foundation, where we shine a light on loss and grief and how it impacts our lives. My name is TJ Jackson, and with me is my eldest brother, Taj Jackson.
What's going on, T?
How are you, man?
Good. I'm doing well.
Doing well, Taj?
Yeah.
How is everything going? I feel like, hold on, I actually messed up one setting, but I'll fix it in a second. You probably can't even tell. Anyways, we are live right now, everyone, on Facebook and YouTube. You may also be listening to us via the podcast. Yes, and every episode gets turned into a podcast for you all's convenience. With that said, if you find us on podcasts or you listen to us on podcasts, please make sure to leave a review. A positive review always helps the algorithms send us to more people who may be looking for us. So it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. This show, Power of Love, is sponsored by the D.D. Jackson Foundation, which is a foundation both my brother Taj and I are a part of, along with many other wonderful human beings who dedicate their time to help those in need. It is a nonprofit, completely volunteered organization, and I always like to just share a bit about the foundation every now and then in case you are new to our community and you don't know about us. So with that said, you can find out more information about DDJF at ddjf.org. I flashed the website right there on the bottom for you. You can also follow us on X at DDJ Foundation. And then another thing you could do is join our Facebook group, the official Facebook group on Facebook, of course, where there's many members over there who give support to each other in the time of need. So one more thing I didn't say was Facebook and Instagram. If you're a Facebook or Instagram user, you can go to DD Jackson Foundation as the handle and see what we're up to on those sites, on those social media platforms, I should say. Taj, with all of that said, how are you? How's your day been? What you been up to?
Well, first of all, since I don't get to do this, I'm going to do it now. Myself. Myself around the time. Going anywhere. No, I figured since it's our solo thing, I can only do that once. But I'm good, T. You know, everyone in the family, in my family is sick right now in some way or the other. So it's just, you know, kids are a petri dish of germs. So I'm battling, trying not to get sick myself, but that's where I'm at. But everything else in life is good, you know, in that way, besides getting sick.
Anything excited going on now that we are in the month of May in your world?
Well, Tori's birthday is May 5th, you know, in that way. In that we celebrated it way earlier, though, 2 weeks prior in that. But, you know, so it's interesting seeing all the other May births around that time. And speaking of, we're going to give a shout out later on the show to someone else. But I think for me in general, I just, you know, being a parent, like they're your priority basically in that way. So you really can't focus on what you want or what you're doing. It's more about them, and rightfully so. So that's where I'm at. So
well said.
Yeah, they're the reason why I'm here.
That's right. Taj, nothing exciting in my world. There's a couple of announcements we should make, and that is May is meditation month. I know you're not doing any meditating, unfortunately.
I'm the worst person to talk about that, but I know it works and it's effective.
But you still haven't done it or are willing to do it.
You know, for me, I'm a weird person, guys. You guys will understand. TJ knows that. Like, I don't even like massages. So like it fits in line with that. Like something that is very soothing and helpful for yourself.
Yeah.
Like for some reason that doesn't click with me. And you know, I've come to realize that I don't like massages, and I don't know anyone that would be like, you don't like free massages or any kind of massage. Just don't like massages.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see, wow, yeah.
yeah, you and I are a little different in that
I
way. And
know we're
then
completely different in that way.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month
That's
as
great.
well.
Yeah.
Very important. I love giving some awareness to mental health, and May is the Mental Health Awareness Month, so it makes sense to do a little shout out for health awareness.
Mm.
Another thing is this is episode 316.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, a significant number for us because we actually had a PO box 316
Mhm.
for decades.
Yeah.
So that number is always a special one. For I feel like it's special for another reason that I'm not thinking of. But anyways, another thing we should highlight is the DD Jackson Foundation merch. So for all of you out there is merch, and that is also another way you could support us. I do not know if that Music Heals promo code is still working. Hopefully we can reenact it, but there's some cool merch items if you want to rock some merch stuff. Any proceeds we get from that, it is done through a third party, so the proceeds aren't directly all coming to us, but once they take away their costs, we do get the proceeds, and of course, any of those proceeds go to the foundation. So it's another cool way to kind of support DDJF. At the
Plus, it
very
helps
least,
promote it too, as well.
that's
Promote.
what I was gonna say. At the very least, you're promoting it by promoting the what we stand for and our organization. So
Get the
there
message out.
you go. Anything else? I think we handled all that kind of little stuff, Mr. Jackson. Here's a slide for the Judy Jackson Foundation group. And then I guess we'll talk about it. We may talk about it again, but the suicide hotline. If you or someone you know needs support, please call or text 988. If you want to chat, you can simply go to 988lifeline.org. And there is someone there to talk with you. It's not someone from our organization, but it's a national hotline for those in need of help. Please do not see reaching out for help as a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a sign of strength. It takes a
Yes.
lot of strength and power to say, I'm not doing well. I need help. So please understand that. I feel like our society wants to say that it's a sign of weakness, but it's not. It truly is a sign of strength and a sign of just a sign of, well, I would say it's a sign of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not just strength. It's like it's humility too. You
Yeah.
know, it's it's
Good point.
it's being able to understand that we're not perfect. You're lacking something.
Yeah,
Need to
I was wondering, TJ, is that was that a national number? Do we have anything for international
I
or
don't know, Todd. I think it is a national number because I'm seeing .org, but and then the text, but I don't know.
maybe that yeah, maybe they might have something
I
on
think the
that.
chat would still work no matter where you are
Yeah,
since it's
that might
online.
be effective. Yeah, yep,
And they could probably pass you on to someone in your local country if they couldn't help.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that's always important to give a shout out to
yeah.
every now and then. Go ahead,
I
Tosh.
was
Something else?
no, I would say basically, piggybacking off of what you said, asking for help is a sign of strength for me in that way because, you needing help, not doing well, some people don't, they don't wanna burden other people in that way. I was someone not to this extent, but I learned the lesson of asking for help in that
Yeah.
way. There's a pride aspect, there's a bunch of different reasons. I lean more in terms of not wanting to burden people in that way, but I think at the end of the day, people generally want to help, especially if they care about you, and it actually I've realized it is a sign of an inner strength in that way, and so don't be ashamed to ask for help.
Well said, Tosh. Well said. All right. So on today's episode of the Power of Love Show, it is a special one, of course. We are going to be diving deep into the heart of our community, answering your questions about loss, grief, hope, and healing. We've received an outpouring of vulnerability and courage from you all, and we're honored to address these profound topics in today's Q&A session. Loss and grief can be such an isolating experience, of course, but they're also deeply universal. And by sharing our stories and insights, we hope to remind each other that we're never truly alone in this journey. So, whether you're navigating the raw ache of loss, seeking solace in hope, or embracing the slow, tender process of healing, know that you're in the right place. Without much further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in, shall we? Our community has spoken, and we are ready to listen and learn alongside of you. So, first question to ask is, how can I support a friend or family member who is grieving without overstepping boundaries? So, Taj, again, by the way, before we get Taj's input on this, um, did we even do the disclaimer?
I don't remember, but
I don't think
I don't
I
think we
don't
did
think I don't think we did, but
about
that's
licensed
not.
therapists or yeah.
Yeah, let me get to the disclaimer. But what I also wanted to say is,
I was
when I
spelling lessons today. You had to ruin it. No, just kidding.
when I ask or present these questions to my brother, he'll give his input. I'll give my input. But I also want to remind you all to share your input, and we can share
Yes.
it up on the screen. It's always best to hear as many different inputs as possible, so we can all try to get the best from each other. Now, with all of that said, we, as well as 99% of you who are watching live with us, are not licensed therapists, and we are all just ordinary people who've experienced loss in our lives. We've been impacted by it, and we have learned from it. And what we like to do here on the show is share our opinions in an attempt to help you get through whatever it is you may be going through. Saying that, if you need professional help, we urge you to seek it and to find it. Please do not just rely on us or the words of our community. Make sure you seek that professional help if you really feel you need it. All right, so Taj, first question is a simple one, but a good one. It is, how can I, let's say I in the sense, support a friend or a family member who is grieving without overstepping boundaries? What would your answer be to that? And then I'll follow up with mine.
Um, First of all, I would say the first step would be not feeling like you're bothering the person or annoying the person in that way. I think sometimes people think when someone's grieving that they need their space or their time alone. And I could say for us, that was completely the opposite. We needed as much love and support around us as possible, people to feel that they care in that way. And it didn't have to be people we knew, complete strangers helped as well in that. So I would say the first thing to do is just let them know that you're there and that you care and that um, you're willing to help and you want to help and kind of say doesn't matter how big or small it is, just let me know kind of thing. And if they, I think if the person, a lot's going on in their head anyway, while they're grieving, but if you keep gently reminding them that, that's effective in that way, because then when they are ready and when they do need that help, they'll remember that you offered that and you were genuine about it. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, and just to piggyback, to add a bit more to what Taj is saying, I think one thing, this has always been a big question, at least for me, and I've made this no secret when talking to any guests. Sometimes you don't know what to say, and you don't want to say the wrong thing, so you err on saying nothing or not showing up. But the truth is, as Sarah just says, it's presence, presence, presence. Just be there. Even if you don't know what to say, you don't necessarily have to say anything. Just you being there makes them feel, makes someone feel like they aren't going through the situation alone. As Carol said, if people stayed away from me, I will feel like they abandoned me. It's a
Yeah.
really true thing. And although we all know we are loved, although we all know we are cared for, it's during some of our darkest times and during the grieving period that we feel, don't even realize it, but we feel we need that support. So be there, and as Carrie says, yes, be present, be there to listen when they need it, even if you don't have anything to say, and just be there. With all of that said, let's get on to question number two. And that is, what are some healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with grief and loss? Um, as we said earlier, May is recognized as Meditation Month. This may be something that is worth implementing into your daily routines, but there are many different coping mechanisms. So, Taj, you know what I like about this, real quick? It feels like a quiz from, from all of our lessons, like a final with all the information
Recap.
we've learned over all the
Were
episodes.
were
So,
we paying attention? Like the
yeah,
audience and
and
everything?
you guys too. You guys could
Yeah.
put your answers in, and but if we can become experts at this, not only will we help ourselves get through grieving processes, but we can help our loved ones and friends, associates get through theirs too. So, with that said, Taj, what are some healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with grief and loss?
My favorite still to this day is doing the opposite of grief, is celebratory in some way, honoring that person. Um, there's many ways you can honor that person. It could be cooking their favorite dish. It could be, there's so many scenarios in that way. Obviously, we released an album, for us, but it doesn't have to be anything that grand. And then when we created a charity for our mom, but each one of those felt like something that we did for that person that we lost that would keep their memory alive. And as I said, that could be cooking a dish, could be creating a ritual every year that celebrates that person or does something in their honor. I think that it's that tricking of the mind of like that loss factor versus that honoring factor. I think it's that balance for me that helped so much. Everyone's different though, but that's
Yeah.
what helped me cope in that way.
I think movement is actually a big one. I really do. I know this may not resonate with Taj so much, but I think getting out and moving, going on walks, exercising, can really help you get through challenging things. I think there is a connection between your mind and physicality, and that we often don't know or don't discuss enough. But if you're going through a lot, a great workout can really help you. I know connecting with nature, whether that's the beach or a hike, just a pretty sight, just sitting there and thinking, that can also do a lot of wonders. And then just pouring yourself into a hobby that you love, whether that's writing music, creating art, reading. I think all of that is big. As Caitlin says, journaling. Um, I love that. Carrie says writing about them. Um, Sharing something funny about them, says Trisha. And Profess the Film Fest says finding something funny to laugh at, a funny memory.
Yeah.
Teresa says, I find having a good cry helps me feel better. There you go. April says, reading is a good one. And then Carol says, try to get sunshine at the sunshine. So there's a lot of various things you could do to help you get through it. That doesn't mean it's going to solve any grieving experiences you are going through or may go through in the future. But these are just a couple of, a lot of mechanisms that can help you get through it. And I found in personal experience that the more that you have at your um, disposal, it seems like that's the wrong word, but I know that is the right word. But the more you can do in your toolkit, the better off you can be, because sometimes you may not feel like going on a run, or you may not feel like reading because your mind is just all over the place. So the more of these things you can implement into your lifestyle, I think the better off you will be when you are grieving it or going through a difficult time of your life. Very good. I really appreciate all the responses we're getting. And there's a couple more I want to actually just share. April says music therapy helps me tremendously. I absolutely love putting headphones on and getting lost in music. It's beautiful. As Sequoia says, dancing to music they like. My sister loved reggae and my dad loved music from the 80s and 70s. I love that.
I do too.
And Carol says, a few weeks ago, my friend took me to the beach. It was so peaceful. Bommy says, painting and drawing and hanging with the dogs.
Yeah.
Um, Early stages of grief. I think sometimes showering, crying, screaming, or watching something cathartic is it. And yeah, just a lot of a lot of solid answers I am seeing in here. Tori says, as someone who lost one parent on their teenage, what would you say to another teenage that just lost their father? Anything that you think that would help? Um, let's see. What Tori threw in a question. Is there anything you would say? It's I can go first if you're not ready, but if you want to,
You go first. I do have
okay.
some, but yeah.
As someone who lost one parent on their teenage age, that would be us. What would you say to another teenager that just lost their father? Anything you think of that would help? Oh man, I think it's life is not going to be the same for you. Life has definitely changed, but life doesn't have to be a negative thing. It doesn't have to be bitter. It doesn't have to be a depressed life. Um, Things will get easier in time. You may feel like your world is over, um, and oftentimes it will feel like your world is over. You may get lost in thoughts, but just take it day by day. Um, be with your loved ones, whether that's family, friends, pets. Be with others. Do not seclude yourself. Um, and the last thing I would say is do what we were suggesting: read, go on walks, be active. Do not let yourself just cave into an isolated, dark place. Because obviously, losing a parent, you often do feel like your world is over. So you have to fight those mental urges and stay connected to those that you love. Follow your heart, follow your mind, follow your instincts, but make sure you are getting you time with people and things you love. That would be
Hmm.
my advice. And take it day by day. Taj, what would you say?
I'm just going to add a little something to that in that way. I think definitely in our situation, one of the things that helped me was knowing that mom wouldn't want us to be sad. She wouldn't want. Uh, I would say she wouldn't want this to define us and stick with us in that way. She'd obviously she knows how much we cared about her, but you know, me understanding mom, she'd want us to be as happy as we could be in life in that way. And I think that helped me out a lot in that because sometimes you feel guilt when you're happy, when
Mm,
you're grieving. And mom was such a fun person, and that would have been the opposite of how she would have wanted us to feel. She would have wanted us to smile and been happy and in that way. And I think that's what I would say to someone that had lost a parent or whatever is, in the safest way possible, that they'd want you to live your best life and for that loss not to define you. It's always going to be with you, but don't
yeah.
let it be the thing that defines you.
Well said, Taj. Well said. Um, I think Carol, I think it was Carol. Yeah, Carol asked, "How did you get better teaching when you lost your mom? You were so young." I think we answered a lot. I mean, most of what I was saying would be the answer, but I think also taking it day by day, and I think it depends on how recent the loss is, but um, so, sometimes we get tricked into thinking things can go back the way they were, and that's not the case. Things will never be how they were, and I think coming to terms with that's an important thing. I think for some they may say, well, if it's not going to be the way it was, I don't want it. But I think you have to get past that and understand. This is where I would borrow from Taj's answer. The loved one that you lost would want you to move on, be happy, and to live the best life you can. And I feel that's part of what we owe that our loved ones is the ability to try our hardest to do just that, is to live our best lives. um so I would say it's all of what I said, but also the mentality has to be right and it has to be healthy. However you're going to get that, it's various ways, whether it could be a community, podcast, a book, a family member, but you need to find that group, that thing that helps you keep it moving. Because, like I said, it does get easier. It never goes away. And we'll lean right into the next question because I think it relates to it, and that is one that is, how do you manage to honor Mother's Day with Francis and Tiana, as well as other mothers in your life, while also navigating the grief of losing your own mom on the significant day? So basically, how do we celebrate while also, feeling the loss of not having our mother with us? So, Taj, do you want to take this one first?
Well, that's a weird one for me, TJ, because I don't really think of mom with Mother's Day anymore. And that was such a big day for her when she was alive. As kids, I remember being excited about Mother's Day and what were we going to get her and all that stuff because she cherished everything in that way. I don't know if it's me just compartment. I don't even want to say the word because I can't say it right. Putting it into shelving it away in there, but I really just focus on Tiana now in that way as opposed to honoring mom. I think I've even on social media, I've kind of teetered away from posting about mom on Mother's Day just because I still I always want to honor her, which is the hardest thing. I want to honor her, but at the same time, it's one of those things that yeah, I feel sometimes I'm doing it more just to do it in that way,
Hmm.
as opposed to as a tradition, as opposed to do it because I need to do it in that way. So I've been kind of backing off on that. Now saying that it's because there's not a day that goes by that I don't miss my mom. So it's not like one day sparks another aspect of this is the day that I'll remember her in that way. It's every day I'm reminded.
Yeah, it's a good answer, Taj. I like it. Um, it's very interesting. I wasn't expecting that answer, but I think there's a lot of validity and truth to it. I still I think about mom obviously every day. And Mother's Day, I think about her a tiny bit more. Usually when I go online and see pictures of mom, and I'm reminded about her. But I would borrow from Taj's answer and say, for me, Mother's Day, I try to celebrate, you know, my wife as the mother of our child, and it's something I can actively do that's helpful for her and our kids. I don't want to say I don't want to take away her day, because I don't think A, she thinks like that, and B, I think you can honor multiple mothers on one day. It's just, for me, the mindset is one that's present and celebratory in a physical way than one of recollection. I think that my mom's birthday, that's a valid, that's her day where I think about her and only her. But in terms of Mother's Day, I think there's so much celebration in terms of physical, in real tangible celebrations, that, like Taj said, I think we're at a point removed where for us it's a focus on the mothers in front of us. So I think that's a valid answer. And you do have to kind of be careful, because then some people are like, oh, they don't care about their mom anymore, which is not the case at all. It's just, as Taj says, at some point, I think Mother's Day becomes about celebrating with your significant other who's a mother to your kids.
Think it's
And
designed that way though, like think of Mother's Day as a holiday, and it's more of mothers that are around, like current, as opposed to mothers in the past and all that stuff. I don't think that's the vibe of it in that way, and
yeah.
maybe that's always been what I've thought in that.
No, I think there's a lot of validity. I would say this though, Taj, in the first 5, 10 years, obviously several of those years I didn't have kids, but even when I did, I still did think about mom quite a bit, maybe because I was so young myself. But now that I'm a middle-aged man, which is crazy, I feel like, it's not even a conscious decision. It just ends up happening. And maybe because it's somewhat close to mom's birthday, and we just, spend a lot of time
Well,
on
we
thought
also
thinking
have
of mom.
other friends and family that have lost their mom or significant. in that way, to the point where when you were younger, it was a rarity for the people around you in that way. So you saw your friends celebrate it with their parent in that way.
Yeah.
That was different. So it made you realize, and you want to celebrate your mom as well. But now we have other friends that have lost their mom in that way. So it's different.
Denise says, "What advice would you leave your loved ones about loss and grief?" I think for me, it would be similar to the advice I mentioned earlier, tutorial, where I said some of the coping mechanisms, and what Todd said too, is that as um, someone who wants my loved ones to live the best possible life they can, I would want to make sure they do not shortchange their own life, and to make sure that they can experience life and love to the fullest. That would be the most important thing. And I think, although I would say everyone should just get their space and time to grieve, you don't want to be someone who is just, I don't want to say negative energy, but down so often that they can't attract positive things in their life and positive people. So there is a season for grieving, there's a season to be down, but there's also a season to pick yourself up and live the best life you can. And I would hope that any of my loved ones who would miss me as I move on would be able to learn about all those coping mechanisms and reach out for help, and to try to live their best life possible. Because as Taj said, that's what I would want, is you to be as happy and fulfilled as possible. And
I'm
if
going
you're
to say
just,
something selfish and
yeah,
cut you
yeah,
off.
please say it,
I
Taj.
think the main thing, not a licensed therapist, obviously. And I'm very good in psychology, but I think people have a fear of being forgotten in general. And so I think it only takes one person to remember someone and to keep that legacy slash honoring that person in some way, them down the road, their story or anything like that aspect of it. And I think if you lose someone, the best thing you can do is keep their story alive, their memory, their name alive in that way. It just takes one person to do that, because really and I just where I say I may be selfish. Everyone wants to be significant, at least know that their life meant something in that way. I think that's a human nature in that. And so if you can honor someone, that doesn't mean something big, just means maybe every year it's so and so's day. And you just, and people and your friends are like, who the heck is that? It's like, that was someone that, and it's like, it's just keeping their name and their spirit alive, per se. I think that's helpful too, because that would be, I think of Clyde a lot, in that way.
Yeah,
It was an incredible person, a friend of ours, such a spirit. And I always want to keep his memory alive in that way. He's not he was like family to us, but he wasn't family. But I
mm,
think I miss the world without Clyde in it. And I feel like in some way or another I would love to keep his memory alive as someone, in that name Clyde Jenkins alive throughout generations. And that,
yeah.
so that would what I do for my friend.
I also think, yeah, I agree with the vast majority, Taj. I think everyone wants to. I think the best way to honor someone is to keep their name and legacy alive. I also think that it's healthy for you. I mean, I didn't know doing the Dee Dee Jackson Foundation would be as healthy and as beneficial for me personally. You
Yeah,
didn't either, right?
no, no.
No, and I think it doesn't even have to be a foundation, but maybe planting a tree, or planting, something simple, writing in honor of that person, tweeting quotes that person said that could be uplifting to others.
Yeah.
Any way you can I guess just pay that person some positive vibes.
Mhm.
It's very healing and helpful. So I think a lot of what you said is right. The only thing I would say is well, I would phrase it different. What would you say? You said everyone wants to be remembered?
Significant.
I would say everyone wants to contribute to society in some way. Which is significance.
Yeah, I was gonna
Which is
say,
significance.
yeah,
Significant.
you wanna
Remember,
feel,
yeah.
yeah, you wanna be remembered. Remember me, remember? Like,
Yeah, no, I'm trying. I'm close. I'm not there yet though.
okay, you will be. Give it 5 years.
Significance, I think, is real. Remembering, I guess it may be because I'm coming from an entertainment world mindset.
Yeah, you're thinking I'm not thinking that. I took off that hat right now. We're at DDJF. I'm thinking when I say significant, I mean that
Significance for you.
people wanna feel, you wanna feel like your life meant something, and that doesn't mean entertainment, that just means you helping someone and changing their life means something.
Yeah.
Everyone has significance.
Um, Carmi says, since my mom's passing on the 1st of January 2020, I've never been the same. I've just tried to throw myself in my work and try and be busy all the time, which is not right. I haven't really allowed myself to grieve, but for the life of me, I cannot get myself to visit her grave. How do I get myself to do that? Well, again, Carmi, this isn't, we're not therapists, we're not licensed to answer this, but this is just a personal answer from me. Um, my first question to you is, why do you feel obligated to go right now to the gravesite? Do you
Mhm.
feel there's going to be a benefit for you? Is it, I hope you're not feeling guilty, because guilt is a very real thing. But if it's for you and for you alone, I think you just have to go. You just have to go, and it may be something as simple as you're scared to for the finalization again, but there's going to be a different benefit I think you get if it's for you. I think you'll realize that it was the best thing you could have done if it
If
was
it
for
was for you.
you.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
that's very important to say because I mean, it took us over a decade for me at least to go back, maybe even
a lot
more,
of
and still,
yeah.
almost maybe almost 20 years. And for me, I've only probably been back 2 or 3 times, and one of them was because we were on site for another funeral anyway. But with that said, I don't want you to also feel like guilt of not going,
Yeah.
because that's, again, when we lose someone we love, someone that's so important to us, someone that was there for us, we can oftentimes feel a variety of emotions that from inside seem authentic and real and justified, but from the outside aren't really justified. And it's just us playing kind of tricks on us, like, like, Todd, you were mentioning, I think on a podcast maybe like maybe 100 episodes ago, maybe you said you used to, or maybe maybe it was someone else, but about feeling guilty. I don't know if it, why am I thinking restaurants, but um, yeah, maybe not, I don't know, but I think we have to be careful, Carmi, of that word guilt. You know, your mother's is no longer present in our world, and we have to, as Taj, I'm going to keep coming back to what Taj said, you have to respect the idea that she would want you to live your best life and to be the best Carmi you can be. And guilt is not a trait or something that's going to help you achieve that. So whatever it is that's making you feel guilty, I think you have to have an honest talk with yourself, whether that's therapy, whether that's walks on beaches, and figure that out and come to terms with that. Um, that's
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. Now
What
here's
would
the
you add, Touch?
that was a great opinion, actually, by the way. I'm just gonna
Oh
add to
yeah.
um, I think first of all, we always have to remember that everyone grieves differently. We were lucky enough that I saw TJ and Terrell grieve differently than I grieved in that way, and so I was constantly reminded of that. Reading your thing and in terms of how you you you're you feel like there's no right or wrong way to grieve in that way, and I didn't allow myself to grieve, and I still haven't to this day. And that I haven't sat there and actually sat in that grief. I didn't have time to do that when mom passed in that way. And I think everyone's different. Some people will say to you, and this is why TJ said it has to be something you want to do. People will say you should visit the gravesite because it might have worked for them. When I
Hmm.
finally did, it was more for Terrell at that point, and I didn't feel any more connected or any less connected because I didn't feel my mom was there anyway in that. But for Terrell, it worked wonders. For other people, it can work wonders. It all depends, but don't think of it as this could be the big thing that could help you in that way, because in reality, everyone grieves different. It can tremendously help you or it cannot in that way. And I think for you, you just have to remember people grieve differently. There is no right or wrong. Don't feel guilty about how you're grieving, and don't compare yourself to what other people do, or say. You're your own person, and I completely grieve differently than majority of the people. I was more laughing than crying at times. I still haven't sat in that guilt, and I still haven't had the serious cry that I think that might be coming down the woodworks, or hopefully not in that way. But I do know that because I leaned on mom would want me to be happy, and that when I leaned on that
Mhm.
heavily, and so that's it.
Um, Sarah says, no right or wrong way to grieve. Embrace the hurting part of you and throw some compassion at that. Hearing you want to visit her gravesite. What makes you feel safest? Is it a person, a pet,
Right.
etc.?
Yeah,
Bring that along. It's cool too. Yeah.
yeah,
So
bring it
so there
along.
you go. Don't feel that you have to do it alone. Is I think the what Sarah is saying.
And ask
You
that
can.
person, say, "Would you come with me?" or whoever it is, and they'll the 99% of the time they'll be like, "Yeah, because they know
I'd be
they're
honored to.
yeah, they're helping you out in that way.
Sarah says, my experience is that I had a picnic at my dad's gravesite. Not everyone's experience. Create safety around the idea before taking that step. Imagine it. Who's there? What's around? What do you
It's
see and
like
smell?
yeah,
It's fantastic.
yeah.
I think that's really strong, Sarah, and thank you for contributing because that's something I would never. No, I should say never, but it's not something I think I would do, unless my kids and their kids and my grandkids, everyone wanted to do it, then I would. But it's not something that just I think would come originate from me to do. But it just the reason why I'm mentioning that, Sarah, is because I want everyone who's concerned about going to grave sites to understand we're all different, and we don't have. I think that's another big lesson I've learned by doing this DDJF podcast is that everything and everyone is different. Our
Mhm,
experiences are different, and you cannot judge. You cannot judge yourself. Why am I not crying? Why am I crying
mhm,
too much? Why can I laugh? Why can't I laugh? Why can I have a picnic at the gravesite? Why can't I go visit the gravesite? Everybody is different. I think the key is you have to respect where you're at. You have to respect that things can change. And I think one thing is just be open to everything. I think
mhm,
that could be helpful because I remember someone, I don't know if it was Auntie Lourdes or someone else, but someone said that you should go visit the gravesite. You should. It'd be good for you. It may even been Clyde actually. And that was the first time I like opened my mind to the thought of it because
mhm,
before it was like I'm never doing that. I don't want to go. Why go there? It's just
mhm,
sadness that's there. And then when someone I respected said you should try it, it would be good for you. It helped me at least be open to the idea. And now I feel I can go. If one of my kids said I
mhm,
want to go to grandma's gravesite, I would be able to and in a way feel like this is my time to go. But if I
mhm,
close my mind to it, I would maybe have made excuse or said, maybe next month or next year. So just listen to others who have went through loss, I think, and others that you respect. It doesn't mean you have to do what they say, but just be open enough to hear them out. Isabel says, I am visiting my mom's grave for the first time this July. My dad is going too, but I don't think I can go with him. It will hurt for both. It's too much. Not sure if my siblings will understand though. Yeah, it's hard, Isabel. It's hard. And all I can speak about is my personal experience.
mhm,
Um, you'll feel emotions that you haven't felt in time, but I do feel there's some type of healing that happens when you go. At least that was the case for me. And again, I am someone that never thought they would want to go back,
Mhm.
but I did, and mostly, like Taj said, was because of Terrell. Terrell wanted to, and it felt right to go with my brother. So I think I my instinct is to say I don't know if unless you're someone who likes to handle things on your own. I feel doing it with others is important. With loved ones, I'm not going to say important. That's the wrong word, but is something to consider. And that
I
goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in there because
Yeah, jump in.
I think just she might know her own dynamics. Like, I personally would wanna go alone. I wouldn't wanna go with people generally in that if I was gonna go because I'd wanna feel free enough to cry, and I won't cry if other people are there in that way. I just wouldn't do it. That's just not me. So you
How
have
about
to.
for your first time though?
Huh?
How about for your first time? That's hard on the very first
It
time.
depends. You gotta know yourself. Yeah, and but, like,
Because and the reason why I say that is because the first time visiting to me is a lot more challenging
I
than
agree with that. I do agree with
subsequent
that.
times.
So
You know,
bring someone that you like, yeah, like, I think,
I
yeah, I know what
my
you're saying.
my advice would bring someone that even if it's a pet. This is where I agree with Sarah.
I was gonna say
Even
maybe a
if it's
pet
a
might be the
pet,
safest.
if you're worried about
You bring a pet
judgment, if
too.
you're worried about all that, bring a pet. But bringing something could be a
Can you
good
bring a
move.
pet too?
Say again?
Can you bring a pet to gravesite?
I don't know.
I know we're just
Another
assuming that I
question,
don't think
Tosh.
you could, yeah. I just thought about that. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah,
I don't
maybe double check that. But if you can, I think a pet could be an answer, or even like a toddler or child.
bring
Uh,
another soul is what
bring
you're
another soul, I
saying.
think can help you. Again, just our input, nothing concrete about this, just from experience. And then after that first time, I think I'm with Taj, with Taj, where I think there is a lot of value in doing it sometimes on your own.
Well, if you know
Um,
yourself, I for me, I know myself. I'm someone that likes to do certain things on, especially the more emotional it is.
yeah, yeah. This Rita says, feel like I have to go to my mother's grave. It just comforts me. My husband's father passed away 2002, and he has not been to his grave since the funeral. We all feel differently about this stuff, but I don't try to make him feel guilty. And he never says anything about me going to see mama 3 or 4 times a year. His father and my mother were very strong presence in all of our lives, and we loved them so much. My father-in-law was the very first person I lost that was so close to me. He was like my second, I'm gonna assume father. Um, but Rita, I thank you for sharing this, because I think it just goes to show you that you could be, in this case, married and have completely different opinions on whether you should go visit a loved one's gravesite or not. And I think it was just important to show that. And what I love is you guys aren't pressuring each other to bend to the other. You're doing what's right for you,
Yeah.
and that's a beautiful thing. Really, really beautiful thing. Carmi says, I don't think it's feeling guilty. I agree with Julie Craig. It's the fact that it makes it real. She
Real.
was my best friend and the one whom I could always seek advice from, and not being able to talk to her or hear her voice. That's the difficult part. Understood.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing because that reality slash the realness of losing someone is what hits hardest in that way. It's the certain times when you do want to speak to someone or talk to someone that they're not around in that way.
And Carmi, I think the default mentality is you got to do what's in your heart. But I think there's also a benefit that we, and not just you, but we as a whole often don't credit enough. And that is sometimes a good cry is beneficial for you to live the maximum life in the other avenues and in other journeys. Um, as you said, it's the fact that it makes it real. It is real. And I think sometimes, we have to, and you have to do it at your time. I don't want to make it seem like you're quote unquote wasting time because it has to happen when you're ready. It took me over 2 decades to go. And that was because of Terrell.
Yeah.
And the topic came up on our television show. If that didn't happen, I may not have even went myself.
Mhm.
But there's a certain cry and a certain emotion you can get out that can make you feel even a bit more I don't say present, but a bit more connected, not only to your deceased loved one, but to the rest of the world that could be beneficial for you.
Mhm.
Could and could not. So again, this is just input. Nothing is a fact. I think it's um all opinion.
Yeah.
April says I have picnics with my kids at my baby's gravesite. They enjoy it and it makes them feel better. They miss their baby brother a lot. That's
Mm.
sweet, April.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's beautiful. I really do. I think the fact that your kids are enjoying it and you're doing it in a happy, honorable way to your baby is a beautiful thing. So bless you all. It's very sweet. Um, Isabel says, I'm visiting my mom's grave for the first time this July. My dad is going too, but I don't think I can go with him. Did I read this?
You
I
sure
did
did.
read this.
I was like, am I getting a deja vu moment here? And why are you not
Sorry,
stopping?
Isabel.
You went you went too long. I
I
thought
sure
you
did. It just felt
there
different for some
there was another
reason.
comment that she said in that
Is
way.
that what it is?
You missed the comment. Yeah,
Do you
the
want to
one.
be an amazing co-pilot and put
No, I
up
want
the
to see you
comment?
crash and burn right now. Is
Okay.
really what I want to see. I'll paraphrase it since it was basically saying that it was more of she's going to be experiencing her dad's grief, and that's going to be what's going to be hard on
Mm.
her. That's the worry, is that it might be too much.
That is valid.
Yeah.
That is valid, Isabel. That is super, super, super valid.
Yeah,
Because
what crushed me, I could tell you, I
it's
have
valid.
very few memories of my mom's funeral, but one of them was my dad's pain in that, and that still, in a good way, I say in a good way, it haunts me because I saw the pain in my dad, but it's was one of the most beautiful sights because I saw the love in my dad for my
Mm,
mom,
mm.
in that way. So it's a weird thing, I know, but I saw his love from mom because they were divorced, but I also saw the pain in him. And so I understand that. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, that's one of the few things I remember about mom's funeral is that pain that is my dad.
Isabel, I think this is super valid. So I don't know. I don't have advice or anything to say. Rita says, Isa, it is hard for me to go with my father also. I wear sunglasses so he won't see me cry. He still gets so emotional, it tears me up. They
Mm,
were married 63 years.
yeah, yeah.
That's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother level, and I shouldn't say that, but that's a whole nother dynamic that oftentimes we don't know about, and we can't understand. Married 63 years and losing a significant other, and that's tough.
Mhm.
That's tough. So I don't have any decent. And I haven't lived long enough to be able to share anything of value. I feel. Let's see. We'll end with this, Taj, because we had so many questions. So many questions. So we'll have to do another solo show at some point. But I mean, and great comments in the
Yeah.
comments section. There's so many I can go through. Um, and this one was from 10 minutes ago. But Camila says, we private people deal with grief in private. How has it been dealing with grief so public? It's incredible how you help others with DD Jackson Foundation. I wish more celebs took note from you. You are role models. Well, that's
Mhm.
very
Thank
nice of
you.
you to say, Camila. Um, Todd, you want to answer first, or you want me to answer?
I think, ever since we started doing music, we realized that we could be helping people. And knowing that you help people in life, it's one of the greatest feelings in general. And once we started this foundation and realized that we were helping people, and even with this podcast, it's been exciting in that way. That's why we're so proud of the community, because everyone's helping each other. You guys are helping us, we're helping you. Um, and I think that's the beauty of it is that aspect of it. So I think why a lot of celebrities don't do this is because they don't realize the benefit of it for their
Mhm.
soul. In that way, they're so focused on other things that they don't actually realize that this is the best reward is helping people.
And to add on to Taj, I think because of who our family is, and I don't want to say the responsibility, but showing us how influential we could be, because of how influential they were and are. It opened up the avenue for us. I think for a lot of celebrities, they're not even realizing this is in a way their first rodeo, and they're so excited to go to this award show and do this thing and do that thing. We kind of saw it and went through it from within because of our family. So when we had our success, the same things didn't appeal to us as much. It was as if we had been on level 2 by then, which was how can you make a difference?
Yeah,
So and then with all that said, because I think we say this all the time, I had no idea doing the Dee Jackson Foundation Power of Love show would be this beneficial to myself.
yeah,
I had no idea. This was all something I wanted to do for others. And my brothers would feel, I think, would say the same thing. But truthfully, this has helped us a lot. I've learned so much about loss and grief that's helped me not only with, the loss of my mother, but the loss of my grandfather and my uncle and friends and their mothers and even celebrities. I still probably the hardest outside of my family that I've had to grieve was Kobe, and it's
yeah,
not that I was friends with Kobe, but it was there's such a connection as a sports lover, and he's the same age, a month apart, and the interactions I had with him was very loving and just sweet. So um I think to piggyback on what Taj just said is that there's just something about being open that is beneficial to even you. And I think that once you realize that, and once it's just getting it out, it's the exercise. The reason why I feel I did so well with losing my mom. I had a dog. That dog was huge for me. I was able to talk and get emotions out. That's super important, whether that's done in private or in public. It's very important. And one more thing I'll say is, Camila, whenever we have guests on who are going through grieving or have lost significant people in their own lives, they always come out. I kid you not, every single time at the end when we wrap up the show, they feel so good. They thank us. They say
mm,
that was a really good experience. I thank you so much, and I feel great. And so there's something that's cathartic and healthy
mm.
about expressing how you're feeling. And so there you go.
Very nice.
Hopefully more celebrities and public will do it, because it's an important part, and I feel it's coming around. I feel
Well,
with I feel the tide is turning.
we were taught, as you said, at a young age, once we had our quote unquote platform, which is what you know, a significant uncle told us. He said, "You have a platform, and you need to use it to do good in that way." And I'm thankful that we had our family as an example to teach us that. I think a lot of celebrities, unfortunately, they don't think of their platform. I've heard some celebrities say, "Well, I didn't want to be a role model. Like that's not,
Yeah, like I didn't sign up for
yeah,
this.
I didn't say, well, you signed up to be that's part of being famous. That's part of being a celebrity
Yeah,
is you take on that. I hate
Todd,
to say
you're 100%
that
right.
irritates me more than we'll
It
get that.
irritates me too.
Like,
It
yeah,
irritates me too. It's like, I didn't sign up for this. Their parents need to be the role model. No, that's not the world we live in. They're
and
listening
that's
to your
not you
music.
get
They're
yeah,
watching you bounce a ball. They're watching you talk. They're impacted by
or act
what you're
or
looking like
whatever.
and what you're dressing like. You have influence. So do the
'Cause
right thing
someone
with it.
influenced them, and that's the thing, yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
I feel like that is a cop out. You're 100% right with that, Taj. Okay, Taj, I think there's only one more comment because we got to roll. But
yeah.
we'll come back to a lot of these. Um, but there was one more comment from Carmen. She says it helps to listen to your experience and how each one of you dealt with your mom's loss. Just love you guys for taking the time to chat to us. You guys are amazing. I feel so much better after listening to your opinions. You're even better than therapists. Well, I don't know about that. Especially, I don't know if he's better than a therapist, Carmen. No. But just I again, we aren't licensed therapists, but I think just speaking your truth and your experience and respecting the fact that everyone has different experiences is important. And I think sometimes, whether it's in a therapy office or, at a funeral or gravesite, everything feels so, I don't say rigid, but it seems like there's a certain way you're supposed to be. And that is something that I don't agree with. I think you got to be you. And if you want to laugh, share a laugh about someone you lost or cry, those are all true and valid emotions. And it's not up to anyone else to judge you on that. It is your life and your way of grieving. And that's probably the most important lesson I've learned doing the Power of Love show, is that you got to be you and be you, and that could continuously change from day to day, from month to month, to year. It can change, but just be true to yourself and try to be the best you possible, and in my opinion, in honor of that person you lost. Whether it is or not for you, that's up to you, but for me, that is something that helps drive me to strive to be a good person, is to do it in honor, not only for myself and for my loved ones, but in honor of those people who helped guide and raise me. So,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else, Taj Jackson?
Yes, we have a birthday.
Oh, go ahead, Taj. Yes.
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Happy birthday. You've been an important part of this community, and dang, I think you've been since pretty much day one.
Since the radio, the true
I was
radio
gonna
days.
say since the radio, and we really appreciate everyone. And now it just happens that we're doing a show that falls on Tiffany's birthday, so she gets a shout out. But that's where we're at. So I just want to end on that.
Sweet. To everyone out there, thank you all for joining us. We hope we brought some insights to you. Thank you to all of you who commented. You brought some insights to us. And remember, if you want to keep these kind of conversations going, join the Facebook group and just discuss, talk. That's what one of our biggest goals at the D.D. Jackson Foundation is to provide a community, a platform for people to just speak, where you're not going to get judged and no one maybe in your close circle will see it. And you can really just be open. There's nothing wrong with saying, I feel not so well today, or I think I messed this up, or is it bad that I'm feeling this way? Ask those kind of questions and you'll be surprised at the variety of answers you get, which can help in your healing journey. With all that said, you guys, we will do this again. I always love these Q&A type of episodes. It's a really cool way to bond with you all and to hear insights from my big bro Taj. So thank you all. Thank you, Taj, for being here. And we will see you all next Wednesday at 1 p.m. All right, everyone. Adios.